Hello, welcome to the Comic Book Club. I am your host, Jamil Payne. And with me today is our very own Dash Queen, Amanda Comey. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm doing all right.
All right, guys. So today we are talking Odyssey. So, Amanda, we don't really have much to talk about, do we? There's not a lot of news
No, we
going
were
on.
just saying we might have a lot to talk about in a week, but today not a lot.
Not a lot. Next week, we should have a lot. If we're recording this the night before the election, so if America is not burnt down by next Monday, we'll be back.
I wish that was funnier.
Amanda, it's funny, right? I was find funny about our relationship is
Yeah.
that this election technically would probably affect me more than it does you in a lot of ways. But you're still a woman, so it affects you. I'm not saying that it doesn't, right? But like your anxiety for this is way worse than mine, and I don't. And I think that's hilarious for some reason.
My anxiety isn't necessarily about the presidential election.
Oh well.
There's a lot of down ticket stuff, and my husband and I are fairly active in what's going on in our local city.
I know. I
So
know.
we do try to like actually participate in the system the way it's designed and keep getting frustrated that everything's run by like 80-year-olds because you have to be retired to have time to do this shit.
It's and it's something, man. It's like you don't want to
It's
like a.
the biggest problem. It's like you can't just be a part-time politician. You need to be independently wealthy.
You need to be, well. I think Princeton. What was it? Princeton just did a study. Just did a major study. I read this either today or yesterday that America is not really a democracy. It's really an oligarchy. How you say oligarchy? How the fuck
An
do you
ol-
go
an
ahead?
oligarchy?
There we go. Yes, that's what America really is. It's not
Yep.
real because
Yeah.
because they don't actually represent the people. So, well, I'm sorry you have anxiety about that. It's that weird thing where I live in a predominantly Democratic city. I mean, look. I live in the South, so not saying that overall like there aren't problems, right? Because clearly there are. But like I live in a city with like a black mayor. A lot of the businesses are black owned, so it creates a little bit of a bubble. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? It's not until you leave Atlanta that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this still is like a red state. You know what I'm saying? Or you just look at our governor. But yeah, so like I know, Amanda, I know it. Things are dark. So let's talk about this weird ass comic. Today we are talking Odyssey. Odyssey is an Image published comic. It consists so far of 12 issues running from November 2014 to October 2016. It is written by Matt Fraction with art and coloring by Christian Ward. Molded after Homer's Odyssey, Odyssey is a psychedelic, gender broke, not even bending, gender broke science fiction epic that tells the story of three legendary warrior queens, Odysseia, Enid, and what is it, Gammon?
I think it's Gammon.
Gammon, returning home after a centuries long battle. So, Amanda, before we start, I just want to ask you who did the design work and the lettering? Because I know you know.
Let me pull up that
Yep.
inside cover. We've got Chris Eliopoulos. That looks like probably a super Greek name, so I might be leaving out a few syllables. And then design is Christian Ward and Drew Gill.
Cool, cool.
Um, yeah, they definitely get a shout out for this. This was a full package.
It is. So, Amanda, what do you think of Odyssey, spelled in the most indie comic way possible?
Um, I enjoyed this just for it being so different.
Right.
Um, but I might struggle to find meaning in it.
Mm.
I feel like it's mostly like I appreciate it for I appreciate that it exists. I like it. I think it's really cool. But it would be difficult for me to explain why someone would check it out beyond just saying, "Oh, it's like kind of weird and cool." Is that fair?
That I think that's fair. I really do. I mean, I think that's a good enough reason to check it out personally.
For most of the time, it is. Yeah.
So before we talk about the story, I just want to say I'm gonna bring up the most important thing about this book. Oh, by the way, I love this book. Like I wholeheartedly love this book. I'm gonna bring up the art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amanda, isn't this art amazing, or is it like just me?
This is really great artwork, and it's also really creative layouts
Yes.
that are just kind of like completely immersive. Um, I will say there were a few points where it was almost incomprehensibly abstract.
I was gonna bring that up. Yes, you are absolutely right.
Um, but even at those points, at least it was pretty colors,
Yes.
gorgeous colors.
Right. It's sometimes it's like he draws bad on purpose. If that make any sense, like it's ugly. It's almost intentionally ugly in some spots. Sometimes Odysseus' head is like waving or like sideways somehow. Like it's
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is sort of like gestural distortion, like showing movement almost.
right, right,
Not having everything sort of captured in a perfect statue flattering angle. Kind of the opposite of Greg Land, right?
right. So this reminds me a lot of the layouts in Promethea. Now, the art is completely
Yes,
different.
this is it does have a lot of the aspects of what people like about J.H. Williams' art, though.
It does, it
Like
does.
the density, the abstraction, also working with a colorist who really goes super saturated.
Yes. So
I think that's a good comparison.
yeah, so it's I looked and I didn't see this win any awards, and I don't understand why it didn't, or maybe I just didn't look hard enough. But like I typed in like this in like Eisner's, right? Because that's kind of our gold standard, and it didn't win anything. And apparently, there's 12 more issues that like are planned but haven't started yet. So I'm wondering if this book was even a success,
Um,
or is just
you know,
Fraction so busy.
I think I mentioned that this was a book where when I was writing for the Outhouse, there was a little bit of fighting over it,
Hmm.
who got to review it, and that it was fairly well received. People thought it was well done, but I think there may also be the issue of, um, like we mostly know these stories,
Right.
and that kind of makes it less. I don't know. I feel like it's hard to give an award to a writer for adapting the Odyssey when you've got hundreds of other people making up their own stuff, including this writer. Like if Fraction did other work that year, is this the thing you want to give him an award for?
And Matt Fraction is Kelly Sue the Cunning Old Man, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Now, is this our first Fraction book? I feel like we've done another. We've done so many
Sex
shit.
criminals.
Sex Criminals, right? Fraction did Sex Criminal, and Chip Zardowski. I always imagine that being a Chip Zardowski book for some reason. I don't. In my mind, that's a Chip book, and he just did the art. So okay. So shoot, I like it's weird to talk about because I think everybody knows the Odyssey. Like everybody knows that story, right? That's like well worn territory. Like I've seen at least 3 or 4 adaptations of that particular story. I've never read the original. Have you?
No, I did have to read most of the Iliad,
Mm,
and felt no desire to ever read anything besides an adaptation of the rest of those Greek epics.
right, right. Yeah, I can see that. So I can't. from what you like the doll, the way this book is written is very interesting. It's written in what is it called? They have there's a name for it. There's like 5, 6 reports about it in the back of this book. You know what I'm
Do
talking?
you, no, I have, you could be talking about like the lettering style, the dialogue style.
The
You could
doll, like
be,
the doll out, just the way it's written in that verse type thing where like almost
you
every
mean iambic pentameter?
that well, huh?
Iambic pentameter?
I
That's not what you mean.
no. I'm not even sure what that is, you nerd. But
It's the, um, it's just a traditional way of writing, epic poetry.
hold on, I'm looking
So
it up.
yeah, what were you talking about for the, what do you mean how it was written?
It's written like an epic poem, like you know what I'm saying. Like I guess there's a name for it, and they have a name. There's like a name for it that's not that. Hexameter is written in ditalic hexameter, like the original, but 2 issues are written entirely in limerick.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, this is what I'm talking, so hexameter instead of pentameter.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so that is, yeah, okay.
Hexameter, yes. It is written in hexameter, and I thought that was very. I commend him.
That's how the originals were.
Right, but I commend him for committing to the bit, right? Cause like he could have easily written this traditionally, and nobody would have blinked. But
Right.
the fact that he writes it like that, I really like. I really do appreciate that, and I think it works better with the art that like everything isn't filled up with word bubbles and covering the
Hmm.
art. It almost seemed like it was look. This book seems like more of an. It's like Fraction just wanted Christian Ward to write pretty pictures. It's like more of an excuse for the art than it does the story.
There's definitely, I mean, we sometimes speculate about how much work does the writer do and how much work does the artist do
Right.
in creating a story together.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely one where I feel like the artist contributed a lot.
Right. So apparently the style Christian Ward was going for was like European 70s sci-fi, which apparently is more organic than like U.S. 1970s sci-fi, which is has its roots in like Star Wars and Star Trek. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
like so even the style is like a bit off from Christian Ward's like normal style as far as like what is drawn.
Were there any characters or were there any scenes that really appealed to you in the Odysseia storyline?
Well, the Cyclops is awesome looking with her one eye and like 20 titties. I thought that was appropriately grotesque and like wasn't at all what I was expecting. Now here's the thing about this story is I've seen several versions of the Odyssey, but it's always the Odysseus story that they follow. The other two kings in this story or queens in this case are usually cut out. So all of this was new to me, and I want to know like because you're probably more familiar with those other parts. How close are their stories to the original Odyssey?
Um, well, I mean, I think that in the second volume specifically, parts of that were just from Thousand and One Nights. That wasn't even from the Odyssey.
Ah, okay,
So
okay,
I think he's just being clever and collecting from epic works of that period.
right, okay, okay. So yeah, let's talk about he or Helena. Like that's so. Look, I don't want to talk about sex, but this book is filled with some really freaky shit. And he Helena, whatever you want to call him, he's
Hmm.
interesting, huh? He's a gimp.
Yeah.
He's a gimp, right?
Yeah.
That's yeah. Okay, okay. So, and I think his story is like the most compelling. There's a part of that story I don't like, but we'll get into that in a second.
Of the two different sort of stories that we followed, I thought that we got a much more interesting storyline for he.
Right,
But we also got more of a personal inner thought, inner life in that character.
right.
Um, we don't really see Odysseia learn anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, her story seems to be presenting kind of introducing us into how this world works and showing kind of the emotional fallout of this war and kind of the whether or not she really wants to go home, you know?
Right, right,
It's kind of what's presented of the, oh, like you're wandering around this galactic Mediterranean because you don't really want to go home. You keep looking for excuses to stop. Um, and I mean, that's interesting, but it's not really resolved yet.
right, right.
Um, Whereas we got almost all of his story in the second volume.
We do, and I think
So I think just for that, I liked his story better. But I mean, it is interesting, um, to be suddenly given freedom and having to try to decide like what you want and who you are.
exactly. It's that weird thing. Like technically, he's a slave, but he almost wants to be a slave. Which again, I know with the Gimp thing, it's two ways to read that. You know what I'm saying? But like, it is a thing of like you can be brainwashed so much. You think this life is good as being a slave. Then like we're presented with freedom all of a sudden. Like you said, it's like, is this really what I want?
Yes, and also for him to go from being the face that launched 1,000 ships,
Nope, it was not his face, Amanda. It was not his face.
right? Um, but for him to go from being that to being nobody is also very interesting.
Right.
So I think um, it's funny that for all of the gender bending and breaking that happens in this story, the most interesting character is still the one guy.
What do you say?
The most interesting character is still just the one
One
guy.
guy, right?
um, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh, because it is at the same time, it is kind of critical of different types of masculinity. So you don't reach the end of this second volume and go, oh, the guy was the only good part. You go, oh, the guy was a very interesting part.
right. I mean, yeah, right. I'm not gonna want to put on the Gimp suit no time soon. I don't think. I don't think that's in my future. So I'm gonna get to the part that makes me super fucking uncomfortable, and I understand that like this may be something I need to get over. It's just like with he and the little boy, right? Go see
Mm-hmm.
Hercules' sons, right? Don't they pretty much imply that they had sex with the little boy too?
Um, it was at least implied that they wanted to. That was their thing, was they had sex with all of the
Right.
with in
Okay.
in in order all of the children in the city.
Then they murdered them, right? But
Yep.
like the end of that story takes place the night after, and like and there's blood everywhere, and I'm wondering like what the fuck happened, and and like I don't know, right?
I mean, specifically, there was no blood.
Oh, I thought there was blood. Like I thought there was blood from like wherever like weird sex they was having. Not
Um,
not the murder blood, not the murder blood that's supposed to come. But like again, I could just be like I don't know. It just I get it that like this they're supposed to be depraved and like they're supposed to be horrible, but like I don't like to think about like them having sex with a child. Then if they did or didn't, they don't really get their comeuppance for that. You know what I'm saying? Because this world, this universe is just shitty, and sometimes you just do shitty things and get away with it. I don't.
Well,
I
I thought that that was the beginning of the Thousand Nights frame story.
Okay, maybe. Okay, I hope.
So the idea is that they're going to get punished, but that he is going to keep telling them stories to put
Okay.
off their execution.
And again, there's supposed to be another 12 issues to this that I really wish that they would go ahead and write, but they haven't even started yet. So, and this took 2 years, so ain't no telling when they'll be finished.
Yeah.
But like, but again, I just, I have a very big problem with child molesters not getting not getting what they deserve in that very instance.
Um, not to play um mention yeah, so just to mention a few other aspects of what's going on here though. Um, how old do you think any of these characters are?
Oh, that's a good question, right? Like thousands, maybe hundreds of years old
They've been at war, just war,
for 100 years,
for 100 years at least.
right?
So just to throw out there, nothing in this book is actually human.
Right.
Um, and in particular, we have a lot of gods and a lot of demigods.
We do.
So yes, pedophilia is disgusting. Racism sucks. I don't know if I would actually map any of these characters onto like living humans though. There's a level of abstraction here that kind of removes a lot of what they're talking about.
Right. Right. I get that, but they
And
do.
it kind of, I think that that's actually what hurts the story is it's almost depersonalized.
Mm,
That you can just kind of lay out, this is a thing that happens in the story. And because everything is so alien, you're like, yeah, that's cool. Like the Cyclops keeps disgusting, rancid pens full of, animals and people and whatever. And, like that's disgusting and horrifying. But yeah, we're just going to throw it out there as a story beat and keep moving. So I think that overall is worth throwing out, is that nothing in this book is really like real life.
right.
And I think that helps and hurts.
Okay. So, what do you think of the roles of gender in this book? Being a woman, it's just this is like, well, they say it's gender broken, but gender bent. Like, what do you think as a woman? What do you think of the gender roles in this story?
Well, as I just got done saying, this is so fucking weird. I don't actually think about how normal men and women work,
Right.
right? Like this is not a commentary on how gender works in contemporary society. This is an exploration of like maybe what gender could be, but it doesn't remind me of myself or anyone I know in any way.
Right. 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 Like but there is like a strong like anti-rape through this, which I appreciate in a way. Like just like what is it, boys who rape? Like it's
Yes, all boys who rape die.
that, which is very different from actual Greek mythology when it's like when they just throw rape parties. It seems like so like it's
Yes.
so like it's giving you that thing of well like Greek mythology was probably thought about well probably from a different sources, but definitely from a male point of view. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? And somehow rape is just normal. Well, like if the Greek gods were women and women thought of this, ain't no way in the hell there'll be like so much rape. You know what I'm saying? Without consequence. That's
right.
that's what I think. That's what I think it is trying to say, right? That if women was in charge, if all the guys were women, the underlying like thought wouldn't be like rape, which is a lot in Greek mythology if you ever read any. Right? Zeus just
Yes.
rapes everyone. You know what I'm saying? So like
Well, I mean, we still have a bit of that.
We do, but like every rape that happens in here, I think, don't quote me on this, ends terribly for that person, for that man. I think, if I remember correctly.
Um, but I mean, like specifically, we still have a Zeus in this book that goes around and knocks up mortals.
But
Um,
is she raping him? I'm not. What? Look, no,
Also, it's not
you
that
know,
Zeus isn't particularly a she or a he. Um,
well, she presents female, but you are right. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
they all present with fluid gender depending on the circumstances.
Right, right.
And, you know, I would argue that I would argue that this Zeus still maintains a lot of the power dynamic from rape,
Right.
if not like actual literal coercion.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. So, like, it's yeah, there's a lot in here to unpack. Cause, like I said, so Amanda, I would like to talk to you about racism.
okay.
So, look, Odysseus, I'm not for sure what race of Odysseus is, or what is it, Enid?
Uh, and I think she's supposed to be like uh I think she's supposed to be the male version of Menelaus.
Yes. So
So probably Na.
Na, right? But I know for a fact Gamer is black. Know for a fact she looks black, right? And like those last two issues, and I'm not saying Matt Fresh is racist. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying he done this on purpose, but why is the last two issues of this book is rapping?
What?
Yeah, like the last two issues of this book is written in limerick, right? But it's really like rapping that they're doing. On top of that, they use a lot of like black vernacular all of a sudden, and I find that really strange. I and plus that might be the least compelling story out of all three or four stories that we get. But if you read those two issues, it's all in rhyme.
Right.
It's all in the hard rhyme. But they use stuff like side cheek and like words that are very and it's the most anachronistic out of all of them. Like
So which two issues are you talking about?
the last two gaming when she returns home and her wife kills her.
Okay, I didn't read that.
What do you mean you didn't read that?
That's not in what I read. The last thing that I read ended with he still in the city.
Oh no, what shit?
I read the first two volumes.
Yeah, those are the last two, 11 and 12. 11 and 12 is that. That's in volume 2.
Okay.
And like, she gets back home and her wife plots like she was away from war. Her wife plots to kill her because before she left, they killed their youngest child. And then
Okay, so like what page is that on?
shit, Amanda, hold on.
I'm not kidding. I have no idea what you're
No,
talking
no, no,
about.
I'm
I did
not.
not read any stories about Gaiman at all.
Oh, shit, hold on. Hold on, let me go to the website. Okay, Odyssey Volume 2. See, I got the hardback.
Okay.
Well, not the hardback, but I got the one that's just one whole book,
Okay.
and it doesn't even say in. Okay, so hold on. For me,
hmm
what did you read? Do you have it in two volumes, or did you get the one that's just
I have it. I have it in two volumes.
okay? That's fucking weird. Cause I have the one volume. It says collects
Right.
Odyssey 1 through 12. Okay, I'm gonna go the full series because of course I bought it on Comixology, right? and there's 12 single issues.
Yeah, I think that maybe these two volumes didn't include those last two stories. I think maybe this stopped at
10. It
maybe
stopped
this
at
stopped
10.
at 10. Let me get back to the
Wow. Wow, that was like a whole part of this big conversation we was going to have. Like, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just this this is weird, man.
yeah, the volumes stop after 10.
Wow. Well, wow. Image really fucked that up, huh?
Uh, yeah, that's really, really weird.
Well, look. So this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're going to do, right? This particular part of the conversation, right? I just want you to read those
Mm,
two issues, and at the beginning of this episode, we'll talk about them because I do want to talk to you about that. Cause like it threw me off, and like I need to talk to somebody to make sure I'm not tripping, and if I am, I want someone to tell me.
okay. I mean, I will throw out what I just said about like, you know, for me as a, I guess, privileged white person, I don't read any of these characters as being black or white.
Well, but
Like everything is just alien.
wait,
So
yeah, I get that,
I'll
but
be
like,
interested to see what you're saying, like, or what you're seeing specifically that makes you,
well, gaming is specific. Like, I agree with you with almost every other character, but gaming is drawn specifically black, and like her wife looks like someone that could be from Africa or like New Orleans with the head wraps and like Afrocentric like dress that she has on. And again, it's hard to explain without what I'm saying without you seeing it, right? But no, I agree with you.
okay.
You like I said, I can't tell where Odyssey is or in it or anybody really. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's just like a weird shade of orange and yellow or pink in some
Hmm.
cases. But in was it gaming? It is Gamma is specifically drawn to be like a burly, like kind of burly, muscular African American woman, and like
Okay.
in those last two issues, everything rhymes and it's the most anachronistic as far as the language goes. So like you read the first 10 issues, right, and everything is like every once in a while you get a fuck you or a cunt or something, but for the most part, it's written in that traditional like I said, Hetzimer style, right? Like it's like an epic poem, right? You get to the last two issues, all of a sudden these niggas rapping, and I'm and they saying shit like side pieces and side chick and shit like that. Like, what the fuck is this? And like, it's like the McDonald's commercials. You ever seen the Black McDonald's commercials, Amanda?
I don't think so.
So on a white network, right? When the McDonald's come on at the end, it says ba da ba ba ba. I'm loving it, right? The normal way that you always hear it, right?
Sure.
On the black side, there's like beatboxing. I'm loving it. Like
Oh, wow.
it's like they have a whole nother set of commercials for black people.
See, this reminds me of, I have an old DVD documentary set about ancient Rome.
Right.
And for the episode about ancient Roman weapons, for some reason they got like a black guy to do the voice work. And it's just like hilarious because all the rest of it is just, like some lame British dude. And then suddenly it's like some guy trying to sound thug talking about walking down the mean streets of Rome. And it's just like, wow, wow, who thought that was a good idea?
so like
Um,
so like I said, I don't think fraction is racist. That's not. But like it's one of those weird, well-meaning things that I just like. It didn't land with me, like I said. And plus, that story, it's only 2 issues, so it's not as compelling. Again,
mhm.
we will talk about it next week. Can you promise
Okay,
me your
so
review?
legit. I just downloaded it and I just looked at the first page splash of issue 11, and I think I need a drink. There once stood a house called Atreus, whose fanatical assholes just slay us. Oh ladies, oh bros, it's a story for pros, but chillax, because that's why you pay us. Um,
See. Right. Am I being crazy? Am I being crazy?
this is exactly the level of what I was just talking about. This is like, you know, yo dog, you better have a dagger with you when you walk down these mean streets by the Colosseum. Like, what? This is
It's a complete
I
tone.
don't
It's a complete
I
tonal
don't think you're
shift.
making, yeah, you're not making any, you're not out of line there. There's this feels like a little record scratch.
We have to talk about this. Can you promise me that
Okay.
we have to talk
Yeah.
about this next week?
Yeah,
What?
we can.
Well, they give us some preamble for next week. Yeah, see, so I was just like, I'm reading this. I'm like, here's the thing, right? Black people, look, I keep saying this. Black people like the same shit white people like. You ain't gotta black it up for us to like it. Like, especially in this case where there's no reason to. Like,
Yeah.
you ain't gotta put on your hat backwards and think like, what would the black people like? Oh, oh man, I almost want to end the show on that. I'm not, but I should end the show on that. That's funny. That's Amanda, you're not still reading, are you?
Nope.
No.
I'm done for now. Like I said, I think I need a drink for that.
Yes. So, um, what did you like? I do like how they got rid of men. Like, I think we talked about this with Middle Wish, right? And like, what you call it, mom potentially being black, even though he clearly looked like just a white boy. And I was like, if you're gonna do that, it gotta make sense. And they didn't make it make sense. In this story, they made it make sense, and I appreciate that. Zeus killed all the men.
Yes, that is 100% right in line with something that a vengeful, dramatic Greek god would do.
And made a species of a female that can have babies with women. I was like, if there's gonna be some weird shit where this can just happen with no explanation, I was gonna be really upset because I feel like shit like that. Like, look, I understand we all want to be progressive. I do too, but like at the same time, just don't start throwing weird shit in there to be throwing weird shit in there. You have to explain this to me, and I'm glad they had some explanation for all of this. Because if it's just a story where there's just no men or just like three men and you don't answer what happened to the man and why women can have babies with other women, I would have been kind of, I don't know if I would have been upset, but I would have been kind of thrown off. That they ain't,
Mm.
but Fraction did a good job of explaining all this and it all makes sense. Now, just to go back to the gender thing, right? This doesn't offend me at all because sometimes gender swap stuff I don't particularly like for like not because women yeah but like I said it's always hand to hand fisted. I think
Like I said, it makes you think about gender without forcing a specific conclusion about like contemporary society at you.
right
It's kind of it being weird and science fiction kind of gives you the freedom to think creatively about it.
now
And
yes
yeah.
yeah now what did you think about the Greek gods?
I really liked the design of the different gods, especially Poseidon.
Yes,
I liked kind of transitioning from thinking about ships on the ocean to thinking about ships in the sky.
yes,
Um, Especially since in a lot of epic stories, we do get the image of like the sky reflected in the ocean.
we do.
Um, so I thought that was a really creative and a really natural adaptation. And I really loved the way that Poseidon was drawn as having like galaxies in her body.
Yes.
Um, and again, as we were saying, even though these are changed gods, the petty soap opera dynamics have been kind of maintained. Um, and I also definitely dig like sort of like slightly chubby Thor Zeus that we have.
Yes, I love that.
Like, like she's like cute, sexy, not like it's very like I was not it hadn't occurred to me that Zeus could be cute. And
I
I'm just like, why not? Why not cute Zeus?
I love
Um,
I love the fact that like Poseidon and what's the other guy, the chick with the beard? Which god was that?
Hera.
I love that like they just used like the fact that Zeus loves sex. They used that against him a couple of times, like or against her a couple of times. You know what I'm saying? Just like
Hmm.
well, if you fuck him, he'll.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying was that there's still power dynamics around the sex in the book, even if it's not like running around raping people.
Right, right, right.
Um,
Now, if I am mistaken, aren't Zeus and Poseidon's aren't they brothers?
yeah.
They have sex in this book because they will be sisters in this book. They have sex with
I
each
mean,
other.
they also have sex in like all of the Greek myths.
They do. They do. They do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah. Zeus totally had kids with all of his kids.
mm, mm. There's a lot of incest in this book too. There's
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of incest, a lot of bisexuality, even some trans. Well, I guess a lot of these people would be considered trans, right? But the one guy that Enid um
Uh, Anna meets the Titan Proteus, right?
yes, and that right
Trying to get out of the trapped city of Knaf, I
besides
think was
Poseidon
the
might have my favorite design with the diamond head, with the titties and the penis. Like
yeah.
there's a very striking design.
Oh yeah, no,
And there's
that's
more.
a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I was just about to say that the more you look at it, the more it's like what the fuck is going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot to deal with, right? It's so you're just like, whoa, huh? So yeah, so that might be my second favorite design. I think the Cyclops is by far my. I think it goes Cyclops, Poseidon, the Titan Protheus as far as like my favorite designs. Also, I do like the fact that like men are such a commodity in here that when they find one, that like women wants to have sex with them. Like,
Hmm.
it's like they visit the one place and like all the girls just lined up to have sex with dude. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, that was the demigod with four arms, right?
Right, right. So look,
And he gave Odysseia like a super powered star drive or something, and she was afraid of what he'd want in return, so she told all of her, um, I guess, mostly heterosexual crew members to stay and just try to have a kid with him, hoping that if he had a son, he wouldn't want anything else.
right, right. But even before then, the women were lining up to have sex with him because they had never seen like a man before or that close to one.
Yeah, it was implied that people traveled from all over for the commodity of a penis.
Yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, it's not like that. You know what? I won't say unfortunately it's like that in real life, but honestly, that shit seems tiring. That really, like, is if I'm 36 now, I ain't young as I used to be. So realistically speaking, that seems like I would be tired. That seems real tiring after a while. There's also another thread going through here that like paradise is not paradise; it's forced upon you.
Yes,
With
yes, that
him,
was in
with like no,
all of the
even
parts we read.
yeah, yeah. Even with him, right? Even with that particular demigod, he was ready to go, even though he had everything he wanted or needed on this planet. He was just ready to go. So
Yeah. They're
yeah,
all tired of being stuck in lockdown. Doesn't matter how nice your house is.
yeah. That has no relevancy to now at all, not one bit. So look, well, this is kind of a sexy book. Like, look, there's like a scene where like they're walking. Like, I thought that was cool when they get to the one like pleasure, the pleasure planet, and like they walk through different types of pleasure. and one is an
Mm.
orgy, and it's just like mountains of titties that they walking across. Like,
That that was funny. It was like a giant. It looked like they were titty beanbag chairs, actually.
right,
Like that you could just go like sleep on giant boobs.
right. Then like at one point, I'm pretty sure they walked through an anus. I think that was an. Look, man, there's a lot of things going on in this book. There's also a lot of that allows us possession between beauty and like savagery. Like there's a lot of flowers in this book, like a lot of flower references in this book. Did you notice that at all?
In a few spots,
Yeah.
especially in the garden where the brothers had to massacre their spouses for cheating on them and thus begin their nightly custom of killing somebody.
Which is messed up too, because at first I was rooting for those dudes. It's just,
Yeah.
then like they just turned to be terrible like everybody else. I think the reason he is so like interesting is because honestly he might be the only sympathetic character in this whole story. Odysseus is not sympathetic, Enid is not sympathetic, none of the guys are sympathetic, none of the demigods are sympathetic. Like there's no like I'm not necessarily rooting for Odysseus to get home because he seems terrible. He seems just as terrible as the damn guys in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Right? Am I wrong? Like, is this
um no, no, I mean it's hard for me to imagine relating to somebody who fights a war for 100 years straight over something as dumb as a dude.
hey, hey, hey.
Um,
So it's okay
but
to fight. Is it okay to fight one over a woman? No, I'm just playing. I'm
no,
just.
no, it's just I mean, I think I was trying to say earlier, I assumed that it was difficult to relate to Odysseus just because we didn't see her change at all.
Right.
But I mean, I am open to the possibility that she's just an asshole and that's why I didn't like her.
And like the thing is, right, in most versions of the story that we see, right, in modern pop culture, right, Odysseus is very likable, and you rooting for him, like they how they always write him in
Mm.
adaptations. So this adaptation is starkly different, which I'm assuming is probably closer to the original story. You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
I wanted her to win specific fights, but I was like, didn't want to like be one of her starship slaves or whatever.
Right, right. Wolf Witch Odysseus. I love that. Like he kept giving her nicknames.
Yeah.
I love that. Wolf Witch is probably my favorite though. Wolf Witch Odysseus. So, all right, Amanda. I think we had a pretty good conversation about this book. So, Amanda, would you recommend Odyssey?
Um,
Mm.
okay, well, I mean, I haven't read those last two issues yet. Um,
We'll talk about those next week.
um, I think I would recommend Odyssey,
Hmm.
but I think it would have to be to someone who's already been reading comics
Right, right,
because this is weird enough and it is a little bit of work to read something that has this level of like abstraction in some of the art and the layouts
right.
because some of the pages were surprisingly dense. So I think I would recommend this to someone who reads comic books and is looking for something different. I definitely wouldn't recommend this one to a coworker.
Right. Okay.
I don't want any coworkers asking me about my favorite he
Scissoring
multi
scene. So
yeah,
much
my
scissoring.
multi-gendered god is my which multi-gendered god is my favorite. I don't need that conversation at work. So maybe just a friends and not family recommendation.
Right. So look, I'm gonna tell you how dense this art is. Right. Usually, I don't read in a guided view. I had like that big. I had the big long Kindle that's just like
Yeah,
book size. So I just read it like that. Right. I purposely read this whole book in guided view just so
same,
I looked at
absolute same.
I looked at so I could look at every piece of art by itself and take it in. And for that, I would recommend this book. I think this book is very good. I think this book is beautiful. Like, you know what I'm saying? Come for the art, stay for the words, except for issue 11 and 12, which we'll talk about next week. But yeah, I think I would recommend this book. I really do. I think I think I have enough friends that would be open minded about this book. Then, like, as weird as it is, I don't think it's no weirder than regular Greek mythology. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So if people have questions, why is it so weird? Like, that's Greek mythology for you.
I think that's a really fun point actually, because like the weird, yeah, like the weird incest, the drama, even the implied pedophilia, like that is in the Greek stuff. So this isn't like the worst parts of this weren't added.
Right, exactly. So Amanda, with that, what are we reading next week?
All right. So next week, I am reading the last two issues of Odyssey. And then we were going to look at some All-Star Superman, right?
Yes, we're going
A
to.
nice little palate cleanser.
Yeah. So look, me like Amanda made a comment last week about how we've been reading either bad stuff or depressing stuff, and she said maybe we should end the year hopeful. So for the rest of this year, we're reading nothing but really hopeful superhero comics. We're closing out 2020, and we're starting that with one of the most hopeful, optimistic books I have ever read in All Star Superman. We will also be reviewing the cartoon adaptation of it, right, Amanda? Right?
Yes, I'm gonna do what I can to watch it.
So, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna want to tell everybody that every. So yes, we are reading All Star Superman next week with a review of the movie, and well, we'll talk about the last two issues of the Odyssey. Now Amanda, if they want to talk to us about Greek tragedies, what could they reach us?
We are on Twitter as Comic Book Club 52.
Right,
They could send us an email, comicbookclub52 at gmail. And we are on Facebook as the Comic Book Club.
right, and like no, I've been saying this forever. No, just write us. Give us a good review on iTunes. Do something to let you know that. Do something to let us know that you're listening. This was a fun episode. I'm Jamil Payne.
I'm Amanda Comey.
And we are out.